Good afternoon, everybody. David Shuster here on Take Action News. This is the first weekend in February 2013. So glad to have you on the program. What a great hour we have coming up. Daniel Marins, Rich Webster, both in-house. We want to start with some pretty interesting news this week on Capitol Hill. The U.S. Congress, a bipartisan group of Democrats and senators, agreed to comprehensive immigration reform principles. They have yet to actually write the specific legislation, but nonetheless, a pretty interesting breakthrough. This would be perhaps the most sweeping legislation and immigration reform we have seen in a decade. And here are the four main principles that members of Congress articulated. A tough but fair path to citizenship for illegals currently in the United States, and that is contingent on securing our borders. In other words, they're going to spend more money on border security, but they're going to have a path for some 11 million illegal immigrants in this country to become citizens. Number two, they're going to reform the legal immigration system to recognize characteristics such as helping the economy and families. In other words, that when people apply for citizenship, if they have certain job skills or family members who are already here, they will have an expedited process to become citizens. They're going to create an effective employment verification system. This way, employers know that they are hiring people who are recognized by the government as either in the pipeline or in the process of becoming citizens. And finally, they're going to improve the process for admitting future workers. Again, this gets back to the idea of making sure that skilled immigrants have an opportunity to get through the system. Chuck Schumer announced the breakthrough earlier this week in a news conference in Capitol Hill. Listen.
It's our hope that these principles can be turned into legislation by March and have a markup by Chairman Leahy's committee with the goal of passage out of the Senate by late spring or summer.
President Obama also said he hopes that comprehensive immigration reform can be done in that same time period by June. The president's principles that he's articulated in immigration that he tried to sell in his speech to Las Vegas this week, very similar, although the president would go a little bit farther on some issues like LGBT rights, which the president suggested and has proposed should be considered as part of this deal. Senator John McCain said, no, we're not going to go with the controversial stuff because that will torpedo the areas of agreement. So why are the Republicans doing this now? Well, a lot of people would argue it's about politics because the Republicans got killed in the last election among the Latino and Hispanic vote. Here's John McCain talking about that.
Well, I'm not sure if it's, quote, politics, but it certainly is a realization that if we continue to polarize the Latino/Hispanic vote, that the demographics indicate that our chances for being in the majority are minimal. And so I'm sure that that is a factor because many of us believe that they are a natural constituency of ours.
We've heard that from a number of Republicans across Capitol Hill ever since the election, that they were going to have to do something in immigration reform. They would have to do something to appeal to Hispanic voters in this country. They lost in the last election by something like 78 to 22% on the presidential level. So clearly a big political motivation for Republicans. But also they are hearing a lot from their business interests. The business side of the Republican Party has been weighing in as well, telling Republicans, you need to find a way to streamline the system to create a more efficient way for us to identify workers, to make sure that the workers are legal or that the workers are in the process of becoming legal, because a lot of businesses face the uncertainty of whether they can hire certain people or not. So that's interesting.